Like a little house on the prairie. Good night, John boy. All right, Chambers County Court coming to order. If all of you that are going to testify, if you will raise your right hand so we can swear you in, please. If you're testifying, raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. All right, cause number 92, the state of James Mosley. Good morning, Miss Dennis, Miss Savage.
Good morning, Judge.
And you may proceed, Counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Mosley, would you please state your full name for the record?
Kimberly Dawn. Oh.
You have to unmute, Mr.
Mr. Mosley, you are muted, sir.
Give me 1 second, Judge.
Okay.
I apologize about that.
Okay.
He's still muted. He says he's unmuted.
Okay.
If it's like mine, it should be down on the bottom left-hand corner.
Dwight Lee Mosley.
You got it.
All right, sorry.
That's okay.
And what's your relationship to the decedent?
It's my brother.
Okay, and did he die on June 7th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And he died at St. Luke's, is that correct, in Montgomery County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. He drove a truck, correct? A semi truck? So
Yes.
he really had no fixed place of residence, is that correct?
Can you repeat that, please? I can't hear that.
Okay, so Mr. Mosley drove a truck, is that correct?
Yes.
And when he stayed anywhere, he stayed with you. So he didn't really have a fixed place of residence.
No, he lived in his truck, and
Okay.
I'd see him once a year.
Okay. But you were his closest relative and you lived in Chambers County, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, did decedent ever marry?
Yes.
And he divorced that wife, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
In the 90s.
Okay. And we have a necessity for the administration of the estate, don't we?
Do what?
We need to administer his estate, is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Did he have any children?
No, ma'am.
Did he have any siblings?
Me and another brother, an older brother,
Okay. And what is your older brother's name?
Herman Mosley.
And is he deceased?
Yes, ma'am.
But he had a child, is that correct?
Yes, he had an adopted son that he had adopted.
Okay. And that child's name is what?
Thomas Mosley.
And he has signed a waiver of consent to this administration, is that correct?
I believe so. I haven't talked to him.
Okay. I'll pass this witness, Judge.
Ms. Savage.
Okay, Mr. Mosley, in regard to your brother, you testified that he was a truck driver and he drove, I guess, all over the United States, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but he used you as his home base.
Yeah, he needed a place to get his mail, and whether he took care of it or not, you know, I'd see him. That's what he would do. He would use my address, and he just drove, lived out of his truck.
Okay, and let's go back to you testified that you thought he was married. Did you I had talked to you about this before. Did you know where he got married, where he got divorced?
Atlanta, Georgia. He lived there for a while. He got married.
But do you know where he got divorced?
It'd have to, I would think it'd be in the same area.
But you don't know for sure.
No, no, ma'am.
The reason I'm asking, I tried to look that up and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find the information. So are you for certain that he even ceremonially married this woman?
I'm pretty sure because I think he had mentioned my dad being there and a story about a wedding ring.
Okay.
So I'm sure. So I'm not positive.
Do you know her name?
Oh, unless I mentioned it earlier, I would know it if I hear it.
Did you ever see the woman?
Yes, I did see her
How many times?
once or twice.
And that was in the 90s?
Yeah, I believe so. They'd actually come down and I went back to their house in Atlanta, or around Atlanta.
Around Atlanta?
Flower, man, I can't remember the town. That's been so long ago.
Okay. So, but you feel certain, you understand that if this goes through and you and your brother's son are awarded the property, that this woman could possibly come back for her share?
She'd be coming back from the dead.
Is she dead?
I heard she passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was like 20 years older than him. So,
Okay. But you understand, that everybody at this point in time, we're kind of clueless as to where all this took place.
oh, yeah, I understand. But
And how'd you hear she was dead?
he told me.
Oh, he told you she was dead?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay, back to my question. If she's not dead and she pops up and asks for part of the money, you understand that could happen?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I understand. Anybody. But I'm the last one of all of us.
Okay.
I do know that.
But you feel certain that she's out of the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
if not, it's no big deal.
there was
I'm
no
not trying.
children. Yeah, there were no children born to her.
No.
I pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Dennis.
She muted.
Ms. Dennis, you're muted.
I apologize. Mr. Mosley, you had
Yeah.
another witness. Do you see her on, Lisa, on the? I don't see.
Oh,
her.
yeah, there she is.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Okay, call your next witness, Counsel.
I call Lisa Mosley. Can you unmute?
See the look on her face. She's, oh my God, I'm muted.
That button. Okay, I got it.
Okay, there we go. Miss Mosley, please state your full name for the record.
Lisa Lejeune Mosley,
And where do you currently reside?
6407 Chase Knoll in Orange, Texas.
Okay, and are you familiar with this family, the Mosley family, and the history of the decedent?
Yes.
Do you have any interest in the decedent's estate?
No.
How long have you known the decedent?
About as long as I've known Dwight, so getting close to 16 years.
Okay.
17.
To your knowledge, was the decedent ever married?
No. Well, yes, Dwight's told me he was married before, but I never met her.
Okay. Do you know about when he got divorced or if he got divorced?
From what I understand, it was in the 90s sometime.
Okay. Did the decedent have any children?
No.
Did he adopt any children?
Nope.
To your knowledge, did he raise any children in his household or anything like that?
No, I don't think the truck driving would have allowed that.
Okay.
He
Do
was
you
on the road a lot.
know the decedent's parents' names?
Yeah, James and Norma.
And are they currently alive?
No.
Okay, so they're deceased.
Yes.
How many siblings did the decedent have?
He had Dwight and his brother Herman. Just two.
Okay. Is Dwight's the applicant right now, correct?
Yes.
And is Herman deceased?
Yes.
And did Herman have any children?
An adopted son,
Okay, and what was his name?
Thomas Mosley.
Okay, I have no further questions, Judge.
Ms. Savage.
Miss Mosley,
Mhm.
I guess I missed this. Or were you married to a Mosley?
Was I married to a Mosley?
Or,
No.
or you're a Mosley?
I was a LeBlanc with my first husband. I'm a Mosley now. So Lisa Lejeune is my first and middle name, and Mosley is my last name.
Okay. Was that your name but prior to marriage?
Mm-hmm. It was my previous husband's name, Lisa Lejeune LeBlanc, but when we
Okay.
got married, it became Mosley.
And you testified that you knew him, the decedent, for about 16 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And would you see him at Dwight Mosley's home?
Yeah, he would come a lot of times if he was just passing through Baytown. We lived near the interstate, and we would bring him his mail. Or there was a time when we lived in Bridge City, he used that address too. He did come stay at our house for about a week at one point, just to visit. We saw him. We had a camp at the river at one time. He went and stayed over there for about a month. So we went by and saw him then. So he was kind of in and out, just on the road all the time.
So he was all over the place.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that truck.
Mm.
And your knowledge about the marriage was what you heard from Dwight Mosley?
Yes.
The decedent never mentioned that to you?
No, he never mentioned it to me.
Okay. And as far as his brother's child, Thomas Mosley,
Mhm.
that's the only other heir besides Dwight that you know of that would take
Yes.
anything under his estate?
Yes.
I pass the witness.
Counselor, call your next witness.
Judge, I will call Betty Brown.
I can't hear her.
Ms. Brown, did we swear you in a while ago?
Swear you in?
Ask her.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
How about now? Can you hear me?
A little bit, tiny bit better.
Okay. Were you sworn in a few minutes ago?
Was he sworn in a while ago?
Huh?
Was he sworn in? Say no.
No.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Can y'all turn the volume up on the computer, Mr. Mosley?
Yeah, it's at 100.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
All right, Linda, swear in, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct? So help you God.
Yes.
All
I do
right,
too, because I didn't
put your
get
hand down.
sworn in a while ago. So
You weren't. All right, raise your right hand.
me?
You.
Do you
Okay.
swear or affirm that the testimony you gave was true and correct? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Dennis, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Brown, would you state your full name for the record?
I'm lost here. I can't hear.
State your full name.
Betty Ruth Brown,
And where do you currently reside?
Your address?
23515 Highway 146 North, Cleveland, Texas, 77327.
Ms. Brown, are you familiar with the history and the marital history of the decedent?
Yes.
I'll just keep it in there. Do you have any interest in the decedent's estate?
No.
How did you know the decedent?
How do I know him?
Yes, how did you know him?
Nephew.
Okay, so he was a nephew?
Yes,
Okay, so you've known him how long?
all of his life.
Okay. Did you know that he got married?
Yes, I knew he married.
Okay. Do you know if he got divorced or not?
He said he did.
Do you know about when he got divorced?
90s maybe?
Okay. Did he have any children?
No,
Did he have any children that he adopted or took into his
No.
home to raise or anything like that?
no,
Okay. How many siblings did the decedent have?
two.
Okay. What are their names?
Dwight Mosley and Herman Mosley.
Okay. And Dwight is the applicant in this proceeding, is that correct?
Yes,
Is Herman deceased?
yes.
Did Herman have any children?
One adopted son,
And what was his name?
Thomas.
Okay. Do you know of any other heirs that would be in this family that would have an interest in the decedent's estate?
No, ma'am, no.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Ms. Savage.
Okay, Ms. Brown, do you recall talking to me in the past?
Do you recall talking to Ms. Savage in the past?
Someone called me. I don't remember her name.
Okay, that was me. And you testified that you were the aunt of the decedent?
You're the aunt of the decedent?
Yes,
Okay. And in regard to what the decedent told you, you just testified that he told you he got divorced?
Did he tell you he got divorced?
yes.
And when did he tell you that?
When did he tell you that?
I don't remember, only the 90s, I said, I think. I'm not sure.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, quite a long time, quite a while.
Did you ever see him? Did you ever see him with the lady that he said he divorced?
Did you see?
No, I did not.
Okay. And in regard to children, did the decedent ever mention having any children to you?
Children, no.
Okay. And so is you're basing it on what he's told you or someone else has told you, is that correct?
Well, basically, yes, I guess that's correct.
Okay. And in regard to Herman, the deceased brother, isn't it true that you told me about him having a son named Thomas?
Yes,
Okay, because I called and asked you if there were any other heirs, and you, and when, in the conversation, you remember telling me that Herman was deceased.
yes, I told
Okay,
you.
and that he had that one child.
Yes,
And there was no other kids that Herman had that you know of.
no.
Okay. And how often would you see Mr. James Mosley?
See him? Not often because he was always in the truck. Maybe once a year.
Okay. And where would you usually see him?
Where was he? What?
Where would you usually see him when you saw him?
Different places. Sometimes he would just call me and say, I'm here, come eat lunch. Sometimes he would go to his brother's campsite in Livingston, just, for a day probably is all.
Did you
however
ever
long.
send him any mail? Did you ever communicate with him by mail?
Did you ever get mail from him?
No,
Okay. And were you aware that he used Dwight Mosley's residence as his home base, more or less?
Did he use Dwight's home as his home base, his residence?
yes,
Okay, that was pretty common knowledge.
yes.
Oh, okay. I pass the witness.
All right, Counselor.
Judge, I have no further witnesses or questions.
Okay, so I don't see a copy of the declaration of heirship. Have you filed that? Counselor?
Judge, we were waiting on Miss Savage's signature. We did file it, but it got rejected. So as soon as we get that signature, we're gonna upload it.
Judge,
so-
may, I sent that to her, sorry, I was out yesterday evening. I sent that to her this morning and I did make one change on the judgment declaring heirship, which I hadn't got to talk to Ms. Dennis about. The last paragraph I struck out, it had "in no administration is necessary." And it's my understanding they are asking for an independent administration to get some funds that are on deposit. So
Yes, Judge, that's fine. I'll talk with Miss Savage and we'll get it uploaded as
Okay,
soon as
so-
we're done.
okay.
Who
And I
have you-
added the interest in personal and real property in the next paragraph. I put in real property and then I
Okay,
signed
that's
it.
fine. Y'all make the changes and get them to me. What about the heirs? Who have you determined are the heirs?
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't hear that.
Who have you determined that are the heirs?
The heirs are Dwight Mosley and Thomas Mosley, each getting one half of the estate.
And Ms. Savage, you agree to that?
Yes, and I just see now, they've got Herman Mosley listed in the order. He needs to be struck out because he's deceased. The two would
Right,
be
so-
Thomas Mosley, the nephew, and Dwight Mosley, the
All
brother.
right, so Ms. Savage, you agree those are the only two heirs?
Yes, Judge, as far as the wife, I tried to look that's just a
Okay,
dead end street, you know.
all right. Well, y'all get that order straight and I'll prove those two heirs once it's done. All right, Ms. Dennis, did you prove up the independent administration when you first started? We've been going so long.
Yes, Judge, I did.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and approve the order granting independent administration and authorize letters of administration. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, cause number 12, the state of Pamela Frady. Mr. Anastopoulos. Good morning. Now,
Yeah.
is your witness been sworn in?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay, you may proceed, Counselor.
So your name is Justin Marshall.
Yes, sir.
Pamela and Freddie, the decedent, was your mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
You are familiar with the facts of the death of Pamela Frady? Pamela and Freddie died on January 2nd, 2023 in Mont Bellevue, Chambers County, Texas, at the age of 73, correct? The date of Pamela Frady's death was less than 4 years ago, correct?
Yes, sir.
Pamela Frady resided in Chambers County at the date of her death, correct?
That is correct, sir.
I turn your attention to the document before you dated December 29th, 2022, which purports to be a copy of the original last will and testament of Pamela M. Frady. To the best of your knowledge, Pamela Frady never revoked this will, correct?
That is correct, sir.
There's a necessity for an administration, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
No children were born to or adopted by Pamela Frady after the date of the will, correct?
That is correct, sir.
No marriage of Pamela Frady was ever dissolved after the date of the will, correct?
That is correct, sir.
No state, governmental agency, or charitable organization is named as a devisee under the will, correct?
Correct, sir.
The will appoints you as the independent executor, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
We have discussed the provisions of Texas Estate Code Section 304.003 that provides when someone is disqualified from serving as executor or administrator, correct? You're not now, nor have you ever been considered incapacitated by a court of law, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been convicted under the laws of the United States or any state of the United States of a felony offense, correct?
No, sir, I am not.
You're a resident of the state of Texas, correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
You've never been convicted of a crime or of moral turpitude at any level, correct? You're qualified and not disqualified to serve as a personal representative of the estate of Pamela Frady, is that correct?
Correct.
And you reviewed the application filed in this matter, and it's true and correct to the best of your knowledge, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
I have no further questions.
Okay, everybody admit the will of probate and authorize letters. Thank you, council. Have a good day. All right, cause number 13, State of Lawrence W. Moe. Good morning, Mr. McCall.
Morning, Judge. Miss Mo called in and she's not well this morning, so she's not going to be here. But we're going to have to reschedule that one.
Okay. We can do that. Cause number 16, State of Elizabeth Fitzgerald. Mr. Little, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. We have Dennis Fitzgerald is testifying. I'm not sure. I couldn't see him if he got sworn in or not.
Mr. Fitzgerald, did you get sworn in?
Not yet.
All right, raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may proceed, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor. State your full name and address, please, sir.
Dennis Fitzgerald, 547 Emery Peak Drive in Richmond, Texas, 77469.
And is it true you're the surviving son of Elizabeth Fitzgerald, who passed away on January 17, 2023 in Pearland, Missouri County, Texas, at the age of 94? Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And at the time of your mother's passing, was she domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County?
In Chambers County, yes.
Okay. And we have filed a document with the court representing to the court that the will signed May the 29th, 1998 is her last will and testament. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And you have examined your copy of that will?
Yes, I have.
And you have it there. And is that the same copy of the original that we filed with the court?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you recognize that to be her signature on there?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the will, the original will in the court's file.
So got in front of me.
And thank you. And Mr. Fitzgerald, there was, after you dated that will, is your mother never was divorced, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And she never took in or adopted a child or had any other children after the date of that will, correct?
That is correct.
And she never, as far as you know, never revoked that will, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And the will appoints you to serve as independent executor, and you and I have gone over the qualifications to be an executor, is that right?
That's right, yes.
And are you qualified to do that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And nothing's left to any governmental agencies or charities. All of the assets under the will go to you and your sisters. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. That's all we'd have, Your Honor.
All right, everybody admit the will of probate and authorize letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we've
Yes,
excused.
sir. Have a good day. You may be. All right, cause number 19, State of Jeffrey Lee Hennigan. Mr. Fuller, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. We're all here and the witnesses have been sworn. May I
You may
proceed?
proceed.
Mr. Hennigan, would you state your name for the court?
Thomas Gene Hennigan.
And you are the father of the decedent Jeffrey Lee Hennigan, is that correct?
That is correct.
And he died on January the 28th, 2023 here in Chambers County, Texas, correct?
He was actually in the MD Anderson in Harris County.
When he died, but he was a resident of
Yeah, he
Chambers
was a
County, is that
resident of
correct?
Chambers, yes.
Okay. And he was 50 years of age at the time of his death?
That's correct.
And obviously 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death, is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay. The original will has been filed with the court, and I show you a copy of his will, which is wholly in his handwriting. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that is his signature.
Yes, it is.
And that will is dated November the 8th, 2016. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the original will, which has been filed with the court.
So now,
That, to your knowledge, this will was never revoked.
No,
No children born or adopted after the execution of the will.
that's correct.
And he did not have a divorce or a marriage that was dissolved after the execution of the will. Is that correct?
That's also correct.
And you're the sole beneficiary under the will. Is that correct?
So, yes.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as independent administrator of the estate
Yes, sir.
with will annexed. The will does not name the state, a governmental agency of the state, or a charitable organization as a devisee. Is that also correct?
Yes,
And there is a need for administration of the will.
that is correct.
Your Honor, that's all I have of this witness.
All right. Yeah,
Now,
I'll call you next witness, counsel.
Yes, if I can call Jess Hennigan. Mr. Hennigan, would you trade places?
You may
Mr.
proceed.
Mr. Hennigan, would you state your name for the court?
Jesse Jean Hennigan.
And Mr. Hennigan, you don't have an interest in this estate, do you?
I do not.
And you've had occasion in the past to see the handwriting of the decedent,
I have.
and you recognize his handwriting?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you a copy of his will, of the original will, which has been filed with the court. Can you identify this as his handwriting?
It is.
And is this his signature on the will,
Yes,
Jeffrey
it is.
Hennigan? Okay. And at the time of the will was executed, which was in 2016, is that correct? At that time, was he over the age of 18
Yes, he was.
and of sound mind?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hennigan.
Thank you.
Ms. Pope, I'd ask you if you'd step forward. Ms. Pope, would you state your name for the court?
Kathy Malley Pope.
And Ms. Pope, you're familiar with the handwriting of the decedent, have you not, are you not?
Yes.
You've seen it in the past?
Yes.
And if I showed you his handwriting today, you could recognize that?
Yes.
I'm going to place in front of you a copy of the original will, which has been filed with the court, and ask you if you can identify this as the last will and testament or the handwriting of the decedent.
Yes.
And to your knowledge, on the date this will was executed, was Mr. Hennigan over the age of 18?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, he was of sound mind.
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, that's all we have. We'd ask the court to admit the will to probate, appoint Thomas Jean Hennigan as independent administrator with will annexed.
So done.
Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you. You too. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks, Judge.
All right. Sorry, Mr. McCall. I skipped over you. We'll go back to number 17, the state of Daryl Frigé.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And you
Your
may
name-
proceed.
Your name is Teresa Iden Frugé, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And your husband was Thomas Darrell Frugé.
Yes, it was.
He passed away on September 1st of 2022.
Yes,
And he had a valid written will that was dated March 13th of 2017. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
correct.
And y'all had y'all's fixed place of residence in Chambers County on the day he passed away?
Yes,
Okay. And you recognize this to be a copy of the original of what we filed with the court?
yes,
His last will? And you recognize that to be his signature?
yes, it is.
And he didn't leave anything to any state, governmental, or charity in
No,
his will. And he didn't have any children born to or adopted to him after the date of the will.
no,
And y'all never divorced after the date of
No.
the will. He never revoked the will.
no,
And the will named you as the independent executor,
yes,
and you're not disqualified in any way from serving.
no,
And you're asking that the court appoint you as the independent executor and approve your will for probate. Is that
yes.
correct? That's all I have, Judge.
All right. Everybody makes a little probate and authorized letters. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
The next
Call
one,
them.
Judge,
I'm sorry.
we got 8. The next one is 18. You want us to get that one real quick? They're in my waiting room.
I don't see 18 on there.
Okay. Thank you all.
All right. Let me know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll
All right. Cause number 20, the state of William Henry Fife.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. You may proceed.
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready. I was a witness to this will, and I'm very familiar with William Henry Fife II, who died on January the 17th of 2023 in Baytown, Chambers County, Texas, at the age of 77 years, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. The decedent was domiciled and had a fixed residence at 8006 Distant Harbor Road, Baytown, Chambers County, Texas, Your Honor, at him before his death. The document dated April the 13th of 2022 which is filed in your court, and which I'll ask the court to take judicial notice that the original is on file, and which purports to be his last will and testament, and it was never revoked as far as I know. I actually witnessed the will, Your Honor, and I'm very familiar with Mr. Five's signature, and that was his signature, and I did witness the will on April the 13th of 2022. There were no children born to or adopted by him after he wrote the will, and he was a single man on the date that he executed and on the date of his death. He was never married and was not divorced after he signed and published the will. Their necessity does exist for administration of the estate, and his will named his step-granddaughter, Rachel Lynn Quillier, to serve as independent executor of the estate. She is qualified and not disqualified to accept, list, or letters testamentary and serve as independent executor. No state or governmental agency of the state or charitable organization was named by him in the will as a devotee. Your Honor, I have Ms. Quillier here, and he is going to take the oath today.
Okay. All your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, everybody make the will of probate and authorized letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Yes, sir. May we be excused?
You may be.
Thank you.
Mr. McCall, I don't see 18 on my docket.
Judge,
Melinda?
it's 23. It's number 23. It's on the last page.
Oh, so
Do we have the wrong cause number then?
Yeah, the cause number I have on the docket is 223 CPR 0023, the state of Sandy Serta.
I've got 18 on my.
That's for Serta. You're saying that's your other one.
Okay, wait.
This one is 18.
Okay. We'll change. We'll change that cause number out then, John. I got it wrong.
Okay, let's go to cause number 21, the state of Jack Michael Cox. Mr. Fronberg.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. You may proceed, Counselor.
Thank
Will
you,
you
Judge.
just swear your witness in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You may
All right, Ms. Cox, will you state your name for the court, please?
Jacqueline Cox.
And can you tell the court what relation you are to Jack Michael Cox?
He's my husband.
Okay. Is it true that your husband died on August 20th of last year in Mont Belvieu, Chambers County, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the time of his death, he was 75 years of age and residing in Mont Belvieu, Harris County,
Yes, sir.
Chambers County, Texas. Okay. Let me show you a copy of the original will that has been filed with the court. Do you recognize his signature?
Yes.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, was this will ever revoked by him after it was executed?
No.
And were there any children born or adopted to him after the will was executed?
No.
Now, there weren't any marriages dissolved after the will was executed.
No.
In fact, y'all were married at the time of his death.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, his will does not name the state of Texas or an agency of the state of Texas or a charity as a beneficiary. Okay. The will names you to serve as independent executor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're not disqualified from serving as independent executor or accepting letters testamentary.
No.
Judge, we ask that Ms. Cox be appointed as independent executor and that the estate is a non-taxable estate and ask the appraisers be waived.
So done. Thank you,
Thank you,
Counselor.
Judge.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, now cause number 23, the state of Sandy Serta. Mr. McCall, you may, did we swear your witness in?
Well, I've got Kramer, which is 18. I've got confirmation that it was set for today. And I've got Serta here. They're in my conference.
Okay,
room.
so was Kramer set for today, Melinda? Just didn't make the docket? You're muted, Melinda.
Let me check, Judge, because.
And we can do Serta first if y'all.
Yeah,
want
let
to
Melinda
come back
check.
to, Kramer.
Let Melinda check. You get your folks in there for Serta, and we'll come back to him in just a moment.
Okay. Let me do it.
Thanks, sir. Call number 26, state of Larry Allen Lynn. Mr. Baker, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. All right. Ma'am, you've been sworn to tell the truth, correct?
Correct.
All right. Your name is Kimberly Dawn Lynn. Is that right?
Correct.
And for full disclosure, you're the oldest daughter of Don and Barbara Harmon.
Yes.
And I'm married to the youngest daughter.
Yes.
So you're my sister-in-law.
Yes.
And Larry was my brother-in-law.
Yes.
All right. Now, is it true that you were married to Larry whenever he died on 7 April of 2019 in Harris County, Texas?
Yes.
And he was 65 years of age.
Yes.
Okay. And Larry was born in Providence, Rhode Island on 24 April 1953.
Yes.
Okay. We're here asking for the court to approve Larry's last will and testament as a muniment of title because no administration is needed of this estate. Is that true?
Yes.
I mean, all the bills are taken care of, right?
Yes.
We're just trying to make sure the land title is straight because y'all had a house here in town.
Yes.
Okay. Both y'all's names are on the deed.
Right.
And
yes.
so we have to show what happened to Larry's interest.
Yes.
Okay. So we're here. I've shown you the proposed will. It's dated 24 August 2018. Purports to be witnessed by Erica Gonzalez and Doreen Carr, right?
Yes.
Is that Larry's last will and testament?
Yes.
Okay. If he had ever revoked that, you would have known it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the time he signed that will, y'all resided at 13721 Longview Street, Houston, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes.
However, at the time Larry died, y'all resided at 406 Lazy Lane, Anahuac, Texas.
Yes.
Okay. And so, of course, he lived in Chambers County when he died.
Yes.
And that's why we filed in the probate court here, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, is it also true that Larry had no children born to or adopted by him after the date of this will?
There was no children born.
I know, there was no children, period.
No children, period.
But after the date of the will, he didn't have any children.
No.
That's correct. That's correct. All right. And then also, he never applied for and received Medicaid on or after March 1st, 2005. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, your residential address is 406 Lazy Lane, Anahuac, Texas, right?
Yes.
And your mailing address is P.O. Box 96, Anahuac, Texas.
Yes.
Okay. And the, let's see. I believe that's, Judge, if you would confirm you have the original will in front of you.
I do, right in front of me.
And it's a self-proving will. Do you see that?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. We ask that you admit the will to probate as a muniment of title and waive any requirement for an affidavit that she distributed everything, because as anybody can read, she's the sole devisee of the will.
So done. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Take care. All right, Mr. McCall, you ready?
Judge, I'm sorry, Judge. Let me, Kramer, it just did not get on the docket. So let me get the will and the order up to you. Everything else looks in.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
All right, cause number 23, the state of Sandy Serta.
Thank you, Judge.
We need to swear.
Oh, yeah, he's not sworn in. That's right.
Raise your right hand, please. Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, self you got.
Yes, sir.
Put your hand down. You may proceed, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge. Your name is Robert Serta?
Yes.
And you were married to Sandy Serta, is that correct?
Yes.
She passed away on August the 23rd of 2019.
Yes.
And y'all had y'all's fixed place of residence in Chambers County on the day she passed away.
Yes.
And she had a valid written will dated April 14th of 2010, is that correct?
Yes.
And you recognize this to be a copy of the original that we filed with the court?
Yes.
And you recognize this to be her signature?
Yes.
And so far as you know, did she ever amend or revoke this will?
No.
Okay. And she didn't leave anything to any state governmental entity or any charity in the will?
No.
And y'all didn't have any, or she didn't have any children born to or adopted to her after the date of the will?
No.
And y'all never got divorced after the date of the will?
No.
Y'all were married when she passed away?
Yes.
And the will named you as the independent executor?
Yes.
And you're not disqualified in any way from serving? You're not a felon or anything
No.
like that?
No.
and you're asking that the court approve your application and appoint you as the independent administrator, executor of her estate.
Yes.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right, everybody admit the will of probate and authorize letters. Thank you, sir. All right, calls number 2803, the state of Neva Shires.
That's me, Your Honor, and I'll be the witness on that.
You are going to be the witness and you're sworn in, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you may proceed, Counselor.
Your Honor, a couple of decades ago, I was appointed administrator of this estate. It's a dependent administration, and there's a Miss Savage is the new attorney ad litem. Joe Sandlin had been the former attorney ad litem. And this is a probate that was originally brought by Nina Presnall. She was a Miss Neva Shire's cousin, and her attorney went away and it was never replaced. And then there was an intervention, and Mr. David Dexel represented a bunch of other intervening applicants, and he has since retired as an attorney, and he has been replaced by Mr. John Gezzi. And I'm not sure if you signed the official order substituting. That may be a housekeeping thing that needs to be done.
Maybe I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and Mr. Gezzi put it right. I explained this thing. It's been in orbit for a while, and he says, "Orbit, heck, it's been in stasis." But nobody's really driving it because they have to prove who the heirs are. And I'm just administrator, okay? But it's getting to the point where something's got to happen. So, as administrator, we have sufficient funds, round figure. I put it the exact figure in my application, but $17,000 in the estate. Mr. Gezzi and I spoke, and we came to the idea that we should hire a disinterested forensic research genealogist to research the history of the heirship, so that that person could be an expert witness and inform the court who the heirs are, so that we can actually get a declaration of heirship in this case. And I investigated that. It has been done. I guess the number one thing I learned on this is how to spell genealogist. I kept using an O. We're supposed to use an A, but learn how to do that. But the estimated cost, $2,000 to $4,000 should cover it. I might could do it for a little less than $2,000, but as a dependent administration, I still have to have the court's permission. And so I'm asking you, and Miss Nina Presnall could testify to some of the heirs. We had authorized her deposition, but I interviewed her, and she, Miss Nina died. She lived to be 101, I forget. But she could only testify as to the Welch side of the family. Neva's mama was a Welch, and her daddy was a Shires. And nobody locally, Joey or any of them, know anything about the Shires. And so we never would be able, even with Nina's testimony, we never would be able to prove who all the heirs are. So we didn't do that. And then, I'm asking the court to, I've got a proposed order, and if you've misplaced it or can't find it, I've got another one identical that I submitted.
Got it in front of me.
Okay, I'm asking you to grant the order approving the application and authorizing me to hire this disinterested forensic genealogist. I don't have anybody in mind yet. I'm gonna find one.
All right, Ms. Savage.
Judge, this has been discussed, I know, way before COVID, and whoever was on board then, including me, agreed to do this. So, I mean, it's just impossible to find out on the Shire. I knew some of the Shires, but they're all, I mean, it's something where they're gonna have to have somebody research that has access to.
So you agree with the employment
Yes,
of
I
a
do.
genealogist? Genealogist with A.
Yes, I learned that. I was spelling it wrong my whole life.
All right, I'm approving the order for the disinterested forensic genealogists. Maybe we can finally get this put to rest. Thank you all.
Thank
All right, back to cause number 18. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that is the state of, is that Erlewin?
Arlen?
Arlen.
Arlen?
Arlen
Kramer.
John Kramer. And have we sworn you in, sir?
No.
No, sir.
Raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes.
And you may proceed, Counselor. You can put your hand down.
Thank you, Judge. Your name is Terry Allen Kramer, is that right?
Yes.
And your mom was Arlen J. Kramer, is that right?
Yes.
She passed away on July 24th of 2020.
Yes.
And she had her fixed place of residence in Chambers County on the day she passed away.
Yes.
Okay. And you filed a will for probate in this court, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recognize this to be the original of her last will and testament?
It is.
And it's a copy of what we filed, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recognize that to be her signature?
Yes.
And so far as you know, she never revoked this will, did she?
No.
She didn't leave anything in this will to any governmental entity, state, or charity.
No.
She didn't have any children born to or adopted to her after the date of the will.
No.
She never got divorced after the date of the will.
No.
And the will, you've got some brothers and sisters, is that correct?
I got one living brother and then some nieces and nephews.
Okay, but the will named you as the independent executor, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're not disqualified in any way from serving. You're not a felon or anything like that.
No.
And you're asking that the court approve your application to admit this will to probate and name you as the executor, is that correct?
Yes.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right, so done. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Kramer, you have a good day.
Uh-huh.
All right, Melinda, what about state of Valdine Zlumpke?
She called this morning or emailed this morning, said she was going to be in another court. She wanted to know if she could get moved to the bottom. I told her that I would reach out, let you know, but that you, and she wanted to know what time to get on. I said, I really can't tell you that because you move fast.
So check with her and see if she's prepared. If you don't mind,
Okay.
can you
I
got a way to
think-
contact her?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get her information. I mean, if she also filed the oath and I told her you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me
No,
see.
I'm gonna go down the hall. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to text her, Melinda. Do you want me to shoot her a quick text just in case she's in court?
That would be awesome.
Okay, just
let me see if I can get her number too for her office and try to call it too.
I think the only number that's in there is her cell phone, because when I tried calling, it said like leave a message or send a text, and I'm like, I'll send a text.
Okay, and I don't have that with right now, but yeah, if you don't mind doing that, Marangeli, that'd be great.
Should I just say, good morning, judge is ready to hear, and then give her the cause number and name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Just tell her, just say the judge is ready, and yeah, just like you said, you're good.
Okay, doing it now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think I'd email her as well, or?
Okay, let's see. I told her, are you able to participate? I'm afraid Judge Sylvia will be leaving soon for a meeting. She said, okay, I'm ending the hearing now. If he can give me 3 minutes, then I'll log on. Judge is rendering, so it shouldn't be much longer.
Oh, she should reset this one.
Yeah. Maybe Judge will give her till like 11:05. Do you think, like in your experience, is this one pretty straightforward?
It should be. Yeah, this is one of those, should be, but I don't know. She, that's what I was telling the judge. She already filed the oath, and you don't do that until after I mean, you can't. You've got to have the order in file and in place before the oath is signed. So I rejected her oath and told her first that the judge needed to have that order.
You think they'll cover that in the training in Lubbock?
You what, babe?
You think they'll cover that in the training in Lubbock?
Well, they probably will, but it's pretty well known,
Yeah.
And if I have anything that can help, if you want to skip through or anything, that's just something that's pretty much known. But yeah, a lot of times they will. And they even have most of the time they'll have a session for new clerks and that's always good to.
So I'll get a hold of them.
I was telling Melinda, I let her know that you didn't participate, that you were going to be leaving soon for a meeting. She said, okay, I'm ending the hearing now. If you can give me 3 minutes, then I can.
How many?
3.
3. Okay.
You really should have reset this. I had no idea she was gonna. We've been asked to do this before, but they're pretty good about jumping on too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fine.
Sorry about that, McCall, and it just didn't get moved over.
No problem. We
didn't do CERTA, did we?
Yes, we did everything.
Oh, did I get it? I must have gone. That must be when I was up looking for the other one.
All right, I'm letting.
Yeah, I think it was. Big docket.
Oh my, yes. And this afternoon's going to be fun too.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait.
And we have one on the 4th. I'm going to forward some emails that this one participant emailed me if you want to look at them.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm not sure why my video is not. I don't know what's going on with my video.
Do you happen to have like a lens protector that you can toggle?
No, because I'm actually in Hardin County Courthouse, so I'm just sitting on my laptop in their lobby.
I see.
I wonder.
Well, there was one time when I had a sticky note over my camera, so.
Let me see. I'm going to go into my settings and.
Is it just you?
Well, I have a client who is supposed to be here. She's messaging me saying she can't log in. So I'm sorry, Judge, and I appreciate you working on it for me. Is there
and we could also
did she get the new login?
She did get the new login. I wonder, is it possible for her to call in as opposed to logging in on camera?
I'd really like to see her if at all possible.
May I have a minute to give her a call?
Sure.
Thank you, Judge.
Lori, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you, there should be a little button for you to start your video.
The only thing it says here, safe driving mode or leave. Your microphone is unmute or your video is stopped.
Okay.
And then down there it says done speaking.
Okay, so there should be, if you look at the phone and like click the screen, there should be a little video camera, it looks like a literal old school camcorder. And you can click that and turn your video off and on.
What you said, but it's not doing it.
There, now we can see you.
You can?
Yes.
Okay.
Good
All
morning.
right, we can see you, and now you can see me. And if you'll raise your right hand, please.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, well, you may proceed with cause number 10, the state of Valdine Smith slump.
Okay, Ms. Langston, please state your name for the court.
Shirley Ann Langston.
Okay, were you acquainted with Ms. Valdine Zlomke?
Yes.
Did she die on January 4th of 2023?
Yes.
And was that in Chambers County at the age of 93?
92.
92, okay. What was the date of her death less than 4 years ago?
Yes.
Was she a resident of this county at the time of death?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you personally took the will that she had signed and executed and you filed it with the clerk, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I asked the court at this time to take judicial notice that the original will is on file.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that document, that will that you filed was dated June 26th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, did Ms. Zlomke ever revoke the will?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there is a necessity for administration of this estate, right?
Yes.
Were there any children born to or adopted by Ms. Zlomke after the date of the will?
No, ma'am.
Did she have any divorces or marriages after the date of the will?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and she didn't provide any gifts for the state of Texas or for a political subdivision or a charity in that will, did she?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and the will appoints you as the executor, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as you know, you are qualified to serve as the executor and and to accept the letters testamentary.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you don't have any felony convictions, do you?
No, ma'am.
And do you swear before this court that the writing that has been filed and offered for probate is the last will and testament of Valdine Smith Zlomke as far as you know or believe?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you willing to truly perform all of the duties of independent executor of the will of the estate of Ms. Zlomke?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you signed an oath stating such?
Yes, ma'am.
After this court signs an order, that oath will be filed with this court. Is that correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions, Judge.
All right, everybody, Mr. Will of probate and authorized letters. So you're in Hardin County, Counselor?
I am, Judge.
Tell Mike Daniel that you got to see a real judge this morning.
I will tell him.
All right. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Let's stay on a minute.
Okay.
I saw that first one was a cluster.
That judgment.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole damn probate.
No kidding.
But I saw where they were asking for no bond. I didn't hear any testimony on it.
Did you set a bond?
No, there was
Okay.
no testimony. Nobody brought it up. You might contact both of them. I think we have to set a bond. I don't know what that amount is. I mean, that needs to be, and I need Lila to agree to whatever that is.
Okay, because I know her fees, we didn't see those either, and,
We need, yeah, that was the other thing. We need fees and a bond.
okay, the fees
Yeah, I
were
don't think we-
600.
Ma'am?
The fees were 600 and Lila's, told Christy she'd already been paid.
Oh, yeah, well then, we don't need to
Yeah.
order that. We don't need to worry about that.
But we can write in the
but-
600.
We do need a bond. And that could be a minimal bond. I don't know what. I don't think I can do a no bond on it.
Yeah,
Administration.
but do you want to? Yeah, it's better a bond than no bond, unless the only time they don't ask for one's in the other type, so. You want to get Miss Savage and Miss Dennis back on the phone, on the Zoom?
No,